We kick things off in steamy fashion as our hero Haru sneaks in on a cute girl named Sora, who is changing into her school uniform. It looks like Sora wants to have the perfect fit for this outfit, but Haru has other plans in mind. She does ask him not to stare at her body, but he doesn't care about her modesty right now. As a matter of fact, Haru's intrusive thoughts take over as he takes Sora's measurements and she starts to feel ticklish as well. That's not going to stop our hero from living out his fantasy, so he continues to tease Sora as much as he can. All of this looks like a lot of fun to Haru, but before he can go where no man has gone before, he is woken up by Sora. It turns out that all of this was just a dream and none of his fantasies have come true. Anyway, there's no point crying over spilled milk, so Haru takes his uniform from Sora and changes into it. Sora doesn't look too happy over the fact that Haru has woken up after her, and says that he will need to do better if he is to set an example for her. After all, Sora is joining Haru's school from today, so there's a lot to look forward to. In a sudden twist, we see one of Haru's friends show up from behind, and he comments that our hero never wakes up from his sleep no matter how many times he tries to call him. This friend's name is Naka, and he is quite the rascal from the looks of it. He takes one look at Haru and says that he's looking quite cute in his outfit, but this only confuses him. That's when our hero realizes that he's changed into Sora's uniform by mistake. To make things even worse, it turns out that Sora has worn Haru's uniform and it leads to a comedy of errors. Our hero tries to explain to Sora that they've switched outfits, but before Sora can even respond to that, Ryu decides to have some fun with Haru. Of course, this is shady behavior, so Haru tries to remind Ryu that they are both boys. However, it looks like Ryu is on another level of lewd intentions as he pounces on Haru and calls him cuter than any girl he's ever seen. It looks like things might just take the wrong turn for our hero, but then he wakes up again and lets out a shriek. It looks like he was having a dream within a dream, but the only problem here is that he has woken up in the middle of his class. As expected, his friends have a field day with him for this, and they include Ryu as well. They want to know why he started screaming all of a sudden, but he's too ashamed to say what he saw, so he just explains that it was a bad dream. Ryu wants to know what kind of dream it was, but there's no way Haru is going to tell him that. A cute girl named Akira joins the chat and agrees that the lecture was boring enough for someone to fall asleep, but Haru tries to act nice and says that the weather made him feel this way. Of course, he's lying and another cute girl named Kazu calls him out on it. She is shown to be something of a teacher's pet as she scolds our hero for nodding off in class like that. She says that he needs to do better in class and he won't face such problems if he was just paying attention to the teacher. This makes Haru feel a bit guilty, but both Ryu and Akira back him up by saying they have a hard time staying awake too. Kazu doesn't like this and tells Ryu that he's repeating a year for that very reason. She warns Akira against losing her way, but she simply says that she will take notes from Kazu to get back on track. Kazu oddly blushes and says that she will do anything for Akira, which makes us believe that she might have a crush on her. Ryu tries to make the most of this and asks Kazu to teach him as well, but she just smacks him away for acting like a creep. Haru wonders where Ryu keeps getting such lewd intentions, but then his own intrusive thoughts are put to the test when Akira plays with her skirt while commenting on the weather. He can almost see what no man is supposed to see, and it gets him excited, but then he almost gets caught by Akira. Luckily, Haru manages to avoid an awkward situation. But for some reason, Kazu doesn't seem to trust him or even Naka. It might be because both the boys have transferred to this school from another one, but Akira is ready to vouch for them. She believes that both Ryu and Haru are good boys, and Kazu is simply annoying them with her words. Our hero doesn't think that there's anything for the girls to be sorry about, but he also wonders if his life is ever going to go back to normal. With that, the group goes back to class to attend another lesson, and this time, everyone pays attention. Ryu is amazed to see how fast time goes by if you actually listen to the teacher, and he gets mocked by Kazu once again. However, Ryu hits back at her by saying her cute face won't look very good if she keeps annoying him. Speaking of cute, Ryu remembers something and looks at Haru. Our hero gets scared because he's already had a dream about this, but luckily, it's about another girl that Ryu saw earlier. He says that she was super cute and had a very transient feeling. Ryu seems to be totally taken away by this girl's charming good looks, but after he describes her a little better, Haru says that it's none other than Sora who's stolen his heart. Our hero wonders just how often Sora gets out of the house, but then a girl named Now comes to the scene and wishes to talk with Haru. It turns out that she wants to go home with him, but then Ryu decides to spoil the party. He tells her that she didn't need to go to the trouble of coming here to ask such a simple question, but now insists on being with Haru. Basically, it looks like she has a crush on him, and Ryu wants her to confess it as soon as possible. However, before anything further can be said, Haru says that he has to go pick up the new uniform first, so he won't be able to accompany now. She feels bad about it, and Ryu only makes it worse by teasing her further. As expected, this lands him a punch to his face and he gets knocked out in an instant. Then, Now offers to help Haru sew the buttons of his uniform. Also brings out the point that he isn't very good with sewing in the first place. Haru doesn't want to bother Now with such trivial things. But she touches his nose and says that he can always ask her for help, no matter what he might need. It's an intense moment which makes Haru think of various scenarios. But it all boils down to the fact that Now is a kind person. Our hero also recalls Sora saying that she likes Now a lot, but then he remembers something that she had told him earlier. It's here where we learn that the earlier scene with the uniform had actually happened between Haru and Sora. Our hero was trying his best to measure Sora, but she kept asking him to do it better, so it made him awkward. Sora had called him out on it, but he justified himself by saying he's not used to such acts. The funniest part was when Haru had to measure Sora's waist because he moved in the wrong direction and gave her a rather tasty sensation. Anyway, the couple managed to get things done after a few awkward moments, and then Sora had managed to dress herself again. Haru was just happy to get the job done. And then he told Sora about them going to school together. She just wanted to have ice cream, so Haru had agreed to it, but she ended up having more than what she ought to. It was here when he mentioned that Now was also in the same school and she would be 1 year higher than them. However, Sora refereed to her in an odd manner which made Haru a bit suspicious. He even mentioned the fact that Now and Sora would play with each other when they were younger, but Sora casually brushed off their little chat. Back to the present, Haru wonders what could have happened between Now and Sora, but he's got a whole other set of problems to deal with. The weather is quite hot even though it's evening. And he also has to carry the uniform box. The worst part is that the box feels a lot heavier after the heat zaps away your strength. After a long, arduous journey, our hero finally reaches Sora's house and walks inside. He announces his arrival, but does not get any response, which makes him wonder if she actually did go out for a walk earlier. Out of nowhere, Now also shows up and takes Haru by surprise because he wasn't expecting to see her there. Anyway, it's time to get to work, so Now starts stitching the uniform with her crush. She gets the job done, but Sora still hasn't come back from her walk, so it makes Haru worry a bit. The sight of Now in the house does bring back some memories from when they were all kids, and then she starts getting emotional. Haru has no idea how to comfort her as she mentions her feelings to him. Basically, Haru had left the house a while ago and it broke Now's heart, but he's back now and she's happier than ever to be with him again. Things drag on for a bit, but Now luckily snaps back into her senses and apologizes for getting carried away. It's at this very moment that Sora comes back from her walk, and she notices that they have a visitor. She immediately senses who it is and rushes into the room to catch Haru red-handed with Now. Sora is fuming with rage, even as our hero tells her that Now has come to see them. She uses some strong words against Now and orders her to leave the house because she doesn't want to see her face ever again. This is a rather odd situation and Haru can't figure why Sora is acting like this. He tries to make her see some sense, but she orders him to kick Now out of the house. Of course, Haru isn't just going to stand there and be told what to do, so he grabs Sora and tells her to snap back into her senses. Our hero tells her that she's being too dramatic and she needs to say sorry to Sora right now. As expected, this only makes things worse and Sora calls Haru a fool before running away from the scene. Now is feeling the worst out of everyone and blames herself for doing something that has upset Sora. Haru tells her that it's not her fault at all, but he also wonders what it was that caused such a ruckus. Meanwhile, we see Sora who is hugging a soft toy to try and calm herself down after her outburst. She mentions Haru's name, which means our hero could be the cause behind all of this. The next day in school, Sora is introduced to everyone in class, and they go crazy because she's very cute. The teacher tries to get the class to behave in front of the new student. And then we see Ryu begging Haru to join the same class as Sora. Our hero tells his friend to have dreams that can be achieved because they are not going to be in the same class as Sora. After all, there have been too many transfers to this school, so it would be impossible to accommodate them all. Now, we finally learn that Sora is actually Haru's little sister, which makes his earlier scenes with her seem a bit too shady. Anyway, Ryu tells Haru that he's not a good friend because he did not introduce him to Sora. However, our hero doesn't have time for such talks, so he tells Ryu to hurry up with the cleaning. They've been given the pool for this task, which means they have their work cut out for them. Then, Akira and the girls show up to wish them luck, especially Akira, who is a bit too cheerful. Kazu asks her to calm down, but it's Ryu who's losing his mind over seeing the girls in their swimsuits and gym clothes. Even Haru has to tell his buddy to control his urges, but things go from bad to worse after they learn that two classes will be coming together for the PE classes. This means that Sora will also be here and Ryu's fantasies come true when he sees her show up in her cute outfit. However, Haru can sense his sister's mood and identifies that she's feeling upset. He doesn't know what to do to make this better, and his feelings are seen by the class rep. She asks Haru if he's alright, and he thanks her for showing concern. She blushes after hearing this, but the romantic moment is spoiled by Ryu once again, who compares her to a boiled octopus and asks her to calm her hormones. It looks like Ryu gets thrashed once again, and Haru doesn't even dare to oppose what the girls just did to him. Meanwhile, Akira decides to have some fun by the pool and starts running around. Kazu chases after her, thinking that she might fall down, but Akira simply asks her to join in on the fun. Kazu has her safety in mind, but then Ryu strikes again with a splash of water. He says that it won't be fun for the girls in their swimsuits if they don't get a little wet, and this line angers them in an instant. Akira asks him to try some sliding moves, so Ryu decides to show off his skills to impress the girls. He's basically asking to get beaten up at this point, and that's exactly what happens to him. Haru can only stand and watch as his friend gets the punishment that he deserves. However, in the middle of all this chaos, Akira trips and falls on top of our hero, thus leading to a hilarious position. She worries for her lover boy, so she asks him if he's alright and he says he's fine. Akira isn't going to let him off so easily, so she mentions that his clothes have gotten wet. Haru maintains that it's no big deal, but Akira insists that he come home for her to wash his clothes. Our hero can't say no to such a cute smile, so he agrees to come over, but doesn't notice Sora looking even angrier in the background. After the cleaning is done, Haru and Akira head back to her place, and then she makes small talk over making him come here. However, she says that she has to go somewhere else to run an errand, which confuses Haru because he didn't even want to be here in the first place. Akira says that she wants him to meet someone else, and then we see her. This girl's name is Yahello, and she is an absolute stunner. Yahello asks Akira for some soy sauce, but then she turns her attention to Haru and asks about him. After Akira explains who he is, Yahello seems to recognize him, but she still doesn't have anything nice to say to our hero. She even mocks his heritage, although she doesn't say it directly. With that, Akira takes off on her errand, leaving Haru alone with Yahello. Our hero wants to ask Yahello a very important question, so she agrees to hear him out. He says that Yahello clearly seems to be Akira's sister, but they don't share the same family name. It does make the babe think for a bit, but she eventually tells him not to get into the details because it's just easier that way. She also makes it a point to advise Haru not to go poking his nose around in other people's business. This only makes Haru all the more curious, but he doesn't have time to ask questions as Akira comes back from her errand. Our hero checks out the shrine in her house and gives her a compliment. Akira is glad to hear it, and she says that she's done washing Haru's clothes as well. We see a cat climb up on top of Akira's head, so Haru shows concern, but it turns out that the cat is a friend of hers, and she's even given it the name Miko. Actually, she likes to call it Master, which makes Haru even more confused. He tries his luck with the cat and calls out to it, but his efforts don't bring any results. It leads to an awkward silence, but Akira makes things smooth again by saying the cat is just a little moody. It's time for our hero to start to asking the real questions. And he starts off by asking Akira if she stays alone here. She says that she does have her own shrine and room, but she makes it a point to eat with her sister whenever she can. Of course, Haru wants to know more, but he asks Akira if she's fine giving out this information. She agrees to his questions and reveals that she had lost her mother right after being born. With nowhere left to go, she was brought into an adoptive family which also happened to have Yahello in it. However, as time passed by, her adoptive parents had also passed away, which led to her and Yahello having each other's backs at the shrine, even though they live separately. Haru is surprised to see how lively and cheerful Akira is, but she says she has nothing to be sad about. Her friends keep visiting her at home, and she has a proper life in school as well, so she just likes to live each day with joy. She also points out that Haru is doing just fine even though he lost his parents at an early age. Our hero says that he does have Sora to keep him company, but then he comes to a sudden realization. When Akira says that she has everyone with her, even if her family is no longer there, Haru feels the same way. He figures that he's not too different from Akira, who wants to make the most out of what has been given to her. Haru's face brightens up, which makes Akira happy. She says that she's glad to see him like this, but then things get a little awkward, so she walks away to get some tea. This makes him realize that Akira has been trying to cheer him up right since the swimming pool because she could sense his mood was off. Suddenly, he hears someone calling out to him with affection, so he turns around to see who it is. Ideally, he'd have liked to see Sora, but it actually happens to be Kazu. She looks shy and flustered herself, so she walks away before Haru can even say a word. Our hero has no idea why someone like Kazu would call out to him so cutely, but he has other problems to worry about once he gets home. He notices that all the sweets and baked goods have been eaten, and immediately rushes to Sora's room. It's locked, so he keeps banging on the door demanding an answer for her actions. She isn't supposed to be eating so many sweets, and she should also leave something for her big brother. However, Sora doesn't seem to care about any of this as she can be seen sucking on some candy even while Haru is at the door. Our hero realizes that this is going nowhere, and he needs to clear out what happened a few days ago. He sits by the door and tells Sora that she can eat her candy as long as she listens to what he has to say. Now, Haru admits that it was his fault for shouting at her back then, but he also didn't get why she was so angry to see him with now. Sora doesn't say anything just yet, so Haru urges her to speak her mind and promises not to get mad or shout at her for it. We see brother and sister on opposite sides of the wall as Haru reminds Sora that they only have each other in terms of family. It's a rather poignant moment that stresses on the relationship they share. Sora does relate to what Haru is saying, because she loves him and doesn't want them to be this way. However, she is still upset, as can be seen by the way she crushes the candy packet. Our hero doesn't get any response from his sister, so he figures that she still needs some time to deal with her feeling. Not wanting to cause any further drama, our hero gets up from there and walks away for now. Before going, he reminds his sister that she should also focus on eating proper food, as he'll be preparing a nice dinner for them in the kitchen. After he leaves, we see Sora, who is rather upset after hearing what he just told her about them being family. More specifically, she doesn't like the fact that he has referred to them as brother and sister, probably because she wants to be seen in a different way. This does seem to be a bit shady, but the real story is yet to be told, as both Sora and Haru have had a very tough life as kids. Now, we see Haru outside a food truck which is quite popular in his town. Lots of people gather around the food truck and ask for food, while Haru barely manages to make his way through the crowd. He tries to ask for some daikon, but it's of no use as his voice is too soft to reach the chef. That's when Now shows up and tells him that he needs to raise his voice if he wants to be heard. Luckily, he gets what he wants and then proceeds to go home with the daikon. Now asks him if he needs any help carrying the bags, but our hero has to act like a man, so he says he's fine. Now understands his male ego, so she decides not to pester him about this any further. Haru has bought a lot of stuff, so Now asks him why, and he says it's a full week's supplies for him and Sora. Hearing Sora's name makes Now a little anxious, and she once again says sorry for what happened that day. Our hero instantly tells her that it was not her fault, even though he himself doesn't know what caused that reaction from his sister. Now asks if she's alright, so Haru says that she hasn't said a word ever since he shouted at her. Even so, Now believes that Sora is still the same person as she was back when they were kids. Haru is amazed by Now's attitude as she goes on to talk about how the three of them would play all kinds of games back when they were little. Haru also thinks back to the river that used to be full all the time. Apparently, he has some bad memories from that river, but Now still thinks that it was a lot of fun. However, things get a bit serious as Now mentions how Haru and Sora didn't come back after some eventful day. It's left for them to wonder if everything has become normal since then. Anyway, there's no time to fret over the past, so Haru comes back home and finally confesses that carrying the bags all this way was quite the task. He barely manages to catch his breath, but then he sees Sora and tries to act tough again. She just looks at her brother for a second and then turns her head away, which means she's still upset. Haru tries to wonder where it all went wrong, and then he sees that the snacks are gone once again. The scene shifts to the swimming pool where some girls are having a fun time playing with each other in their swimsuits. However, they do not know of the danger that is approaching them, almost like a shark in the middle of an ocean. It's none other than Ryu, who is only thinking of lewd things as he approaches the girls with excitement. It's only natural then for him to look up and see a foot smashing down on him. It's none other than Kazu, who has had enough of Ryu's madness and is going to teach him a lesson. This leads to a hilarious display, and Ryu's made to suffer in the water even though he has the energy to crack a couple more jokes. Our hero is just sitting by the pool, lost in thought, until Akira walks up to him and asks why he isn't swimming. He says he's just fine watching the view, which happens to be Kazu beating the daylights out of Ryu for being a shady creep. Akira also finds their relationship funny but asks Haru once again if he'd like to swim. He says that he's already done enough swimming for today, so Akira decides to take a break with him. At that time, she is told to help out with moving some equipment back to class, and she agrees to it. However, these items are quite heavy, so Akira says it out loud to attract Haru's attention. Our hero is always ready to save a damsel in distress, so he agrees to help the girls with moving the equipment. However, he is stopped in his stride as Kazu comes out of the pool with a deadly look on her face. She says that she will help the girls with the moving, and Haru will not be needed for it. She is clearly jealous of our hero, but he doesn't mind and allows Kazu to take the glory for now. Now, Ryu shows up from behind and says that Kazu was really mean to him in the pool. He asks Haru if all is well and he says he's fine, but starts thinking about what happened at the shrine. He believes this could be the spark that set off the fire between him and Sora, but then Ryu interrupts him by saying it could simply be that special time of the month. Our hero warns Ryu not to say such things in front of the girls, but then the shady creep looks at Haru the wrong way and says that he hasn't done any swimming at all. With that, he approaches our hero like a predator and pushes him into the pool instantly. This is clearly meant to be a joke, but it's a different thing for Haru, who struggles for movement inside the water. It turns out that the river incident he had mentioned earlier had actually involved him drowning because he didn't know how to swim back then. It's because of this fear that he decided never to step into water again. But now he's been pushed into a swimming pool and can't get back up. Our hero starts to choke and loses his breath as he slowly drops down to the bottom of the pool. Things aren't looking good for him, and he can only remember Sora during his most vulnerable time. He raises his arm hoping for someone to see him, but he's in too deep to be seen by anyone else. Meanwhile, Ryu wonders why Haru hasn't come out of the pool yet, and his curiosity slowly turns into concern. Ryu keeps calling out to Haru, and his voice grows louder with each passing second. He also grabs the attention of the girls nearby, and one of them happens to be Sora. Before we move ahead any further, it's time for a flashback to explain the context of the situation. We see Haru back when he was younger, receiving a call from the hospital. It is here when he gets the terrible news of his parents passing away. We move to the funeral where both Haru and Sora are sitting in front of their parents' photos. While everyone feels bad for the kids, they are still hesitant to take them in as foster children. After all, handling 2 kids is a big duty, so the people even discuss taking one of the siblings. Haru walks around the hallway, but he hears crying noises, so he follows them and finds Sora in a vulnerable state. She is devastated by what's happened and asks her brother what's going to happen to them now. She worries that they will be separated, and it's at this point where we go back to the present. Sora just had this flashback, and she's not ready to be without her brother at all. Even back then, she had said that she wanted to be with Haru forever, and it made him consider moving back to their old town together. Even he did not want to be taken away from Sora, which was why they decided to leave town. With the flashback completed, we see that Sora has rescued her brother and he is back on the surface. Haru comes back to his senses and sees his sister crying in front of him, so he holds her face and says all is well. Everyone else sees that Haru is alive and they all breathe a sigh of relief. Sora can't stop crying and Ryu says sorry to Haru for making such a big mistake. Our hero is fine with this because he's still alive, and then he turns his attention to Sora, who is still upset. He realizes that he's the one who must protect her, and Sora calls him a fool for making her so worried. It's an emotional moment, and this makes Ryu feel even worse about his prank, so he begs Haru to forgive him. Our hero is cool with Ryu because he never told him that he couldn't swim. On top of that, Ryu has already been thrashed by all the other girls because of his shady behavior, so he doesn't want to add to his misery. Kazu and the others say that Haru is being too soft with Ryu and he should be given the worst possible treatment. Anyway, it's time to go home, and the others offer to walk with Haru, but he says that he'll be going with Sora anyway. His sister is a bit embarrassed after letting out her emotions in front of so many people, which is why she chooses to walk ahead for now. Haru follows after her, and the other girls wonder what could be going on in Sora's head. Ryu isn't sure if Haru knows how much Sora cares for him, but Akira says our hero is well aware of these things. On their way back, Sora says that it would be nice to have something sweet today. She's thinking more of a softie, but her brother prefers spicy food. After a bit of arguing, the both of them hold hands and agree to have something that's mid-spicy and also has carrots, even though Sora isn't a fan of it. Later, we see the brother and sister couple sit down for dinner, and Haru can't take his eyes off Sora. She asks him what's the matter, and he says that she's finally eating a proper meal which does not consist of snacks or sweets. She tells him to shut up in the cutest way possible, and then she proceeds to ask Haru if it's tough for him to make such meals. Our hero is about to answer her question, but then he wonders why she's asking such a question. Sora acts shy and says she's just making idle chit-chat, but her blushing says a different story. Time passes by, and we're in the month of July, which means that things are getting even hotter. Haru can be seen with a hand fan, which isn't even enough to help him deal with the basic weather. He has no motivation to get any work done, but then the phone rings and he wonders who could be calling at this time. It happens to be Akira, who wants Haru's help with her shrine because the preparations are a bit behind schedule. Our hero doesn't know if he can be of much help here, but he decides to go for it anyway. As he confirms this with Akira, Sora walks into the room and hears his talk. She asks him if he's going out, and he tells her about Akira. She acts calm this time, unlike when she lost her mind at Noah, so Haru says that he might be gone for a while. Sora simply asks her brother to be careful, and then he leaves the room. However, Sora clenches her fists, which means that she's clearly bothered by this. Now, Haru reaches the shrine and is surprised to see the progress so far. It looks like there's going to be a proper festival here, and Akira will be one of the main people working at the shrine. Of course, the last time our hero had come here, Kazu had given him a cute nickname and ran away feeling shy. She hasn't spoken to him since then, and it makes Haru wonder if he should share this with Akira. Meanwhile, we see Kazu, who has made some nice decorations for the shrine. She shows it to Akira, who commends her work, but then Kazu says that she's not as good as Haru. She once again refers to him by that nickname and notices some odd movement. This happens to be our hero, who hides himself behind a pillar to avoid getting caught. He feels like he's hearing things, but Kazu did indeed use the same nickname, so he wonders what's going on. Now, Kazu talks to Akira about her being all alone at the shrine. But this is a random thing to say. Akira asks Kazu why she brought it up, and she says that she feels guilty about it. After all, the reason why Akira has to live by herself is because of Kazu's family. It's one of the reasons why she's so close to her, but Akira says that she's not alone at all. Kazu herself comes to see her almost every day, so it's not like she's lonely. Also, we learn that the cute nickname that Kazu was saying earlier wasn't meant for Haru, but for Akira. Akira tries to reassure Kazu by rubbing her head and revealing that they are sisters, so they can never be separated. This is quite the shock for Haru because he had no idea that Akira and Kazu were related. He has so many questions to ask, but it looks like Akira already knows that he's spying on her. She calls out to our hero and says that he can come out of hiding, which makes him feel nervous as he's been caught red-handed. He slowly steps away from the pillar and tries to ask Kazu what all of this was about. Of course, Kazu has the biggest shock of them all and asks Haru how much of the chat did he hear. He says that he knows everything now, so Kazu scolds him for being here. However, Akira tells her that she was the one who invited Haru over to help with the decoration. Kazu is upset with Akira because she should have said something when she noticed Haru in hiding. She can't take out her anger on Akira, so she decides to smack Haru instead. Of course, she's wrong for doing this, so she says sorry, but maintains that Haru should not have peeked into a private conversation that she was having with her own sister. Now, Akira decides to give the news to Haru officially, but Kazu feels that there is no need to involve him. Akira says that it's fine because he was born in the same hospital as them. On top of that, it would be a whole lot easier for Haru to understand their situation if they explain the whole thing to him clearly. This would also mean that Kazu can stop evading him all the time, so it makes her suspect Akira of doing this on purpose. She obviously acts cute and playful because she did arrange for our hero to drop by at an opportune time. Kazu can't believe that she has been tricked, so she gives up and allows Akira to do whatever she wants. Now that she has Kazu's permission, Akira finally tells Haru that they are sisters, but with different mothers. Kazu's mother happens to be the wife of their father, but Akira's mother was the servant of the house and simply a lover to her father. Since her mother had passed away upon giving birth to Akira, she should have been taken into her father's house where she and Kazu could have grown up together. However, due to Kazu's mother not allowing such a thing, Akira was left to fend for herself all alone. This is exactly why Kazu feels bad for her and wants to be there for Akira whenever she can. Kazu becomes sad once again, but Akira cheers her up by saying she's quite happy to live in the shrine by herself. The mere fact that her sister loves her is more than enough to keep her satisfied. Of course, Kazu still feels that Akira is not getting what she deserves, and Haru can see genuine love between them. He thanks Akira for explaining everything to him, and even though he can't say anything special, he does comment that Akira and Kazu are great sisters. They both blush upon hearing this, but Kazu makes sure to hide her shyness for now. Akira goes to get some tea, and then Kazu says that she will do something to make her sister's life better. Before Haru can hear the whole thing, Akira is back with the tea and then she asks the team to get to work. With that, Haru, Kazu, and Akira start with the shrine preparations and a joyful sequence follows. After an eventful day, the job gets done and the girls thank our hero for all his hard work. He says he needs to leave because Sora is at home waiting for him. The girls comment that Sora doesn't get out a lot, but Haru says that it's been a different case recently. It turns out that Sora used to be a social recluse and would never get out until the past few weeks, and it's mainly because she is facing some kind of weakness issues. Luckily, her illness has been improving, which is probably why she is keener to step out nowadays. Akira asks Haru if he has noticed anything different in Sora recently, but he seems to be clueless. It isn't much of an issue, and Akira says that he'll be seeing something very soon. It makes him nervous, and then he goes back home to Sora, who has prepared a whole meal for them. Our hero is shocked to see all this food and asks Sora if she made it by herself. She says yes and reasons that she wanted to help around with this kind of stuff since Haru is always the one cooking the food. It turns out that she was secretly taking lessons from Akira to learn how to cook food, and this explains what she meant earlier when she asked Haru if he had noticed anything different. It also explains why Sora was stepping out of the house more often, and it all makes sense to our hero. Haru wonders if this was also part of Akira's plan to call him to the shrine. But then Sora warns him that the food is a little burnt, so she might not be able to promise the taste. She nervously says that Haru doesn't have to force himself to eat the food, and she can always try again next time. This makes our hero's heart melt, and then he takes a bite of the food. To Sora's surprise, her brother likes the food and gives her full marbles for effort. Of course, he also adds that it's good for someone who's cooking for the first time, and it makes Sora grumpy, but in a cute way. He also jokes that it's quite rare for Sora to do something like this, because she usually has a cold when she does something nice. It makes her a bit cranky and then she storms away, telling Haru to do the cleanup job. Our hero takes one look at the dishes and instantly regrets his jokes because there's a lot of work for him to do. While he gets busy with the giant mess in the kitchen, Sora goes to her room and slams the door. She might seem a bit annoyed, but she also hugs her soft toy and thinks back to what Haru said about her cooking. It puts a smile on her face, but then she also feels a bit dizzy and falls into bed, probably because this was a lot of work for her. Meanwhile, we see that Haru has managed to complete his job cleaning the dishes, and everything is looking neat and tidy. It was an uphill task, but at least he's managed to connect with his sister after the silent treatment she was giving him for so long. Our hero realizes that Sora has now started to act independently, and it's a good sign for her to be able to go out and socialize with the others. However, when we go back to Sora's room, we can see that she is feeling weak in bed. She has taken some pills to help with her condition and comments that she still has issues even though her body has been getting better slowly by the day. The only thing that's on her mind is Haru, and it looks like she's developing an unhealthy obsession with her own brother. We are now taken to a flashback where Sora is in the hospital due to her condition. Haru has come to see her, and he decides to give the soft toy to his sister for company. It looks like a rabbit, and Sora asks why her brother would choose such a thing. He just says that he wants her to have someone to hold when he's not around. He asks Sora if she finds it cute, and even though she thinks it's okay, she does say that she's happy to have it. Now we go back to the present where Haru walks through the streets and is called by Ryu. He then sees all the girls dressed up in traditional Japanese clothes, which makes them look even cuter. Our hero can't take his eyes off these babes, but Kazu feels a little awkward, so she asks him not to stare at her. Ryu is only interested in Sora, so he grabs Haru and asks him about her. He tells him to calm his mind, and then the focus shifts to Sora, who's looking very pretty. She's feeling a little shy, but tries to play it down owing to the nature of her clothes. Ryu is pleased to see her like this and calls out to her, but she ignores his shady words. Haru senses something is up, so he asks his sister what's the matter. However, she says all is well and mentions that they should focus on enjoying the festival for now. She gives her brother a rather shady look, which only makes it more obvious that she wants forbidden love. It's time to get down to fun, but Akira has to greet all the guests since the festival is happening at her shrine. It looks like a tough job, and the group notices a senior man who looks very important. Haru wants to know who he is, and then Kazu refers to the man as father. This means that he is also Akira's father, and Haru is amazed to see the difference in appearance. Akira is talking to him with a smile on her face, but our hero finds it hard to believe that she can be so kind to the man who abandoned her. Before he can think any further, his hand finds Nao, who takes him to the food stalls. She clearly seems to be having a good time, but Sora doesn't like this because Nao is her competition. The fun and games begin as everyone looks like they're having a good time over here. The girls buy some food for Haru, but Ryu gets jealous and asks for his share as well. They simply tell him to go buy his own food because he's a creep. The girls then shift back to Haru, but can't seem to find him. It also looks like Sora has vanished from the scene, so the group decides to go look for them. We can see Sora and Haru together next to the fish pond, where she is upset to see her toys not working. She thinks it's a swindle scheme, but Haru has an important question to ask her. He wants to know if it's fine for them to be away from the others, but this is exactly what Sora wants. She even says that her brother is the only one she wants to be around her, and it makes Haru blush for all the wrong reasons. Now that she has mentioned it, Haru just realizes that it's their first time together at a festival. Sora says that she would always miss out on the fun because she would be in the hospital due to her illness. She'd feel jealous of Haru because he could go out there and enjoy the festival with his friends. Having said that, she's very happy to be with her brother on this occasion. Haru is glad to hear his sister say these things, but before Sora can spend more private time with her brother, Nao and the others find them. They were worried for a moment, but Haru reassures them that he and Sora only got lost for a bit. Anyway, Akira is going to perform a dance now, so everyone has to get seated for it. Haru is impressed that Akira can do so many things, but then Kazu shows up with important news. She reveals that Akira has forgotten to bring a change of clothes for the purifying ceremony, so someone has to go give her a new set. Kazu is a bit occupied at the moment, so she won't be able to do it. Haru is fine with this, but when he asks where Akira currently is, Kazu says that she's a little far away. It turns out that she's actually in the mountainside, which means that it's a long walk for both Haru and Sora because she's obviously going to follow her brother around. It's quite a long journey, which explains why no one else was ready to do this, so Haru tells Sora that she doesn't need to come along. She's fine with it because she'd rather be with him than anyone else, but she does get tired due to her sickness. Haru lends her his hand and it gives Sora the strength to carry on. After a long, arduous journey, the duo finally reaches the summit and they're treated to a beautiful view of the mountains and the lake. Haru tries to look for Akira, but is unable to find her, probably because Sora has already seen her. She makes her brother look away and forces him to promise her that he won't try to take a sneak peek. Our hero is a man of his word, so Sora takes the clothes and offers them to Akira, who is chilling inside the lake. She jokes around by saying Sora should have allowed Haru to see her like this, and it leads to an awkward silence. The girls soak in the view and then Akira says that it's the most sacred area of her shrine. She has come here to cleanse her body before the dance because it's part of the ritual that her family has followed at the shrine for years. As she continues to bathe inside the lake, Akira asks Sora if she knows about the legend of this lake. We don't know if she actually reveals the legend because we then shift to Haru, who is wondering how long he'll have to wait like this. Akira shows up soon after and apologizes for making him wait so long. Then she makes him promise that he will watch her performance and rushes back to the venue so that she begin the show on time. Akira is quite fast, as is observed by our hero, but Sora seems to be distracted by the legend of the lake. Now, we see Akira performing her sacred dance, and everyone is amazed to see how well she is doing it. Even our hero is blown away by her performance and commends Akira for putting on such a show. He asks Sora if she feels the same way, but it looks like she's having trouble. We learn that Sora is struggling because of all the walking she had to do earlier. Haru gets worried, so he takes her to the side and checks up on her body. Sora says that it's all right and he doesn't need to worry about such things. However, our hero rightly points out that Sora is not in the best of conditions. She tries to prove him wrong by standing up all of a sudden, but this only causes her to feel dizzy and she falls down. Haru asks her not to push herself, but she says that she only wants to do this because it's her first time attending a festival with her brother. Haru realizes her intentions and goes to get some water for Sora after leaving her with the others. She's sorry for making him worry, but it's no issue at all for our hero. However, as he goes looking for water, he comes across an argument that is happening between Kazu and her father over Akira. It turns out that the father is planning to send Akira away from this town so that she can be with a new family. Kazu is not at all fine with this and she argues with her father, despite him saying that it's for Akira's own good. Kazu openly scolds her father for not caring about his own child. And the chat gets a bit intense, but Akira tells Kazu that it's fine. She agrees to what her dad says and is ready to be adopted by someone else. However, Kazu tries to push her to fight for herself, even though Akira thinks that she's just causing trouble for everyone over here. Kazu hugs her sister and says that her feelings are the most important thing over here. This makes Akira also feel emotional. And then the sisters decide that enough is enough. Kazu's mother is in the car outside, and she decides that she's going to tell her that Akira is not going anywhere. This is not ideal for their father, but the girls don't care about him anymore and rush outside the room. As they exit, they bump into Haru and realize that he's been listening in on the whole conversation. As expected, Kazu loses her mind and awakens the dark side in front of Haru. She asks him if he has any sense of shame, because he has now sneakily heard two very important conversations. Our hero tries to explain that he isn't that kind of person in this time. It was completely an innocent accident. However, Kazu is not ready to hear his excuses and she keeps insulting him. She has to be stopped though, because Ryu quickly rushes to the scene looking very worried. He says it's an emergency, so Haru and the girls ask him what's wrong. He reveals that Sora has fainted due to her illness, so everyone needs to act quickly. This is cause for concern, especially to Haru, so he better hurry up. What's going to happen to Sora now? Is Akira going to be sent away from her friends and family? Like, share, and subscribe to find out in the next video. Hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload part 2. See you soon.